everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial, and today we are painting a Knight Abominant. Yes, that is what we are doing. We are, well, it's the various component stages of a Knight Abominant. We have the main body itself, we have both of the weapons, both the shoulder pads and the legs as well. We're going to be painting these in this form of sub-assembly. Now this just makes it a little bit easier to paint. It also makes it a little bit easier to transport should you wish to. And well, we're going to jump in and start painting our Knight Abominant. We are going for House Korvax, and I'm very excited to do this for you. So we're going to focus on the legs, then we're going to do the body, and it'll all be done, in theory. So we're going to put the weapons to one side, we're going to put the pauldrons to one side, and we're going to put the body to one side, and the place we are going to start is on the legs. Now the colour we're going to be using first is Iron Warriors, and we're going to be getting this all over all of the mechanical details of the legs. So this is all of these inner workings, all of the spine of the knight. So I'm just going to pick a place to start. I'm going to start right here on this leg, and then I'm going to work my way around with the Iron Warriors. Now you could have primed this, of course, in Leadbelcher, should you wish, by leaving the panels off and then priming it in Leadbelcher, but I really like Iron Warriors for this. It's a really nice dark metallic, and it gives us a really good strong base from which to build up from, and that's what we're going to do. So we're just going to go all over. Now there is going to be some variation in the mechanical workings of our knight, of course, but for now we don't need to worry about that. We just need to get this all over all of these details. We're going to pick out any ribbed cables as well, but we're not going to pick out, where possible, any of the smooth cables. Of course, if you do get them, it really isn't the end of the world. So that Iron Warrior is applied to all of those silver details around there, like that. What we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Castellax Bronze. I'm going to use this to add a little bit of variation into the model. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this Castellax Bronze and we're going to paint it all over any of the areas we want to be a slightly different colour. So for example, this section just here, like that. We're also going to pick out these kind of vent type areas. On the sides. Like that. Also going to pick out the smooth cables. Like so. And then on my one, because I think it'll look cool, I'm going to pick out the top half of the tail. So with that Castlex Bronze all applied, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some black Templar. We're going to apply this to the kind of sections that we want to be a black metallic, any of the ribbed cables, as well as the kind of soft joints. So we've got the ribbed cable just here, which we're just going to apply this to very quickly, like so. We've got the other side as well, so that's not to forget about that. Like so. We've got this kind of, like I said, sort of soft section between each of the legs. Like that. And then we've also got this kind of casing around the top of the piston that we're also going to do. With the Black Templar. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to start working on these panels. Now, the first one we're going to do is black, and that is going to be on this panel of the leg, the front and back of the feet, the whole of this and the whole of that, and then it's a mirror match on the other side, as well as these and this here. And the colour that we're going to be using is a roughly 4 parts Basilicanum Grey to 1 part contrast medium. What I mean by that is we just build up a nice puddle of Basilicanum Grey, and then we add 1 brushful or so of contrast medium just to improve the flow a little bit. Now, we're not looking for a perfect coat here, we're just looking to get this all over, because these are in fact going to be black, and the Black Templar will cover over all of these brush strokes that you can see here. But the reason we've added that contrast medium in there just to improve the flow a bit, is just to make it so that we don't have to kind of really layer on that Basilicanum Grey. And run the risk of getting it really dark and blobby in patches. And this is our pre-shade for the black. And so with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take a roughly 1-to-1 mix of contrast medium and Black Templar. We might have to build this up over 2 layers just to make sure we get a nice deep black, but we are going to now apply this over the top of that Basilicanum Grey. Just like this. So with that Black Templar mix applied to all of those panels, what we're now going to do is we're going to colour in these remaining armour panels using a roughly 2-to-1 mix of Contrast Medium and Skeleton Horde. And we are looking for a reasonably smooth coat here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start up here in a recess, and we're going to use big brush strokes without removing the brush from the panel where possible. Just moving across it. Just like that. We're going to do this on both of these, but we're also going to do this on those remaining feet. As you might have just noticed there, it's very easy to get dark blobs on the feet here with Skeleton Horde. So we just want to be very careful here, so as to not end up with a dark blobby result. So if you do get it, for example, in between those spikes, so if I just, like that, you just want to move your brush in, just absorb the paint and move it around like I just did there. You also want to avoid that kind of thing. So again, just use the brush to move it around. So with that Skeleton Horde applied to those sections, what we're now going to do is we're going to block in the Fleshy Banner. That's right, that's going to be a banner made entirely out of flesh. And so to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to make a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Contrast Medium and Darkoath Flesh. And then we're also going to use some Gryph-Charger Grey in just a moment to add a little bit of kind of see-through, it's a bit too stretched type thing. So firstly, we're going to take that Darkoath Flesh, and just like with the Skeleton Horde, we're going to start up here and we're going to use these big, broad brush strokes. Going from end to end. Just like that. Then what we do is we wash the brush, grab a tiny amount of Gryph-Charger Grey, and then just around with the hooks, we're just going to add this in like this. There, there, and there. Wash the brush, grab up a little bit more of that Darkoath Flesh, and then we're just going to add this like this, just to kind of smooth out those transitions. Just like that. It's a very subtle effect, but it looks horrible. So with that done, it's still drying at the moment, but that's okay, because what we're going to do is move on. And, well, the colour we're going to be moving on to is Retributor Armour, and we're going to be doing this over all of our, well, remaining colours on here, all of our remaining details, I should say. So this is going to be mostly the trim. So we just want to get this all over now. So with that now done, what we're going to do is we're just going to colour in the last bit I know I said it was the last bit with the trim, but it's not the last bit, because the last bit is these horns. Now these are actual horns. So what we're going to do is we're going to take two colours, Skeleton Horde and Wyldwood. And we're going to start with Wyldwood. And what we're going to do is we're just going to load up our brush here. I'm going to just do this a horn at a time. A little too much Wyldwood there. And we're just going to paint the Wyldwood all over the top of the horn, like that. Then we're going to very quickly wash the brush, grab that Skeleton Horde, and paint that over the top, like that. Just trying to smooth out that little bit there with a clean brush, just like that. And then you just want to flip it over and do the same thing. And then you just want to go around each of the horns just like this. So with that now done, all of our base coats are now on our knight's legs. So it is time to add some shades. Now the first one we're going to make is a roughly 5 parts contrast medium to 1 part black Templar. And we're going to be using this all over the top of all of our silver and all of our Castlex Bronze. Now you do just need to be a little bit careful with this mix. Not like super careful, but because it is so runny, it will get away from you if you load the brush up a little too much. But if you do just make sure to mop it up and move it around. Otherwise, you just want to now get nice and messy. Getting this all over these metallic details. So with that applied to all of our silver and our Castlex Bronze, what we're now going to do is going to take a roughly 4 parts contrast medium to 1 part Wyldwood mix. I'm going to use this to shade all of our gold. So we're just going to pick a place to start. We'll start here on the leg, down here. I'm going to start just there. So with that done, we're then going to take some Blood Angels Red. And we're going to apply this over the top of those smooth cables that we originally did with the Castlex Bronze. So with that done, it is now time to start brightening these legs back up. It's looking pretty awesome. This is Warhipster battle ready on the legs. The whole model though, we haven't even started. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with all the Castlex Bronze areas. Now the colour we're going to be using is Castlex Bronze. And basically what we're going to do here is we're just going to effectively relayer all of our wide open spaces, just avoiding anywhere where that shade has really settled. We want these to be nice and bright. Just like this. So with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Iron Warriors once again, and we're going to use this in much the same manner, only we're going to just be picking out the absolutely flattest parts of the model. So for example, we've got these ball joints here on the legs with the Iron Warriors. We've got the kind of flat parts of the screws. Got this kind of sort of section here. Just like this. Anywhere that's nice and flat and open that we can get to. We're just going to buff up that colour just a little bit. So with that now done, you don't need to worry about doing the dome on top, because that's never going to be seen, because the knight goes right on top of it. Look, I'll prove it. Bosh. Can't see it. So what we're going to do is we're now going to take some Stormhost Silver. I'm going to do a very, very gentle dry brush of this over the top of all of the silver details. But we're also going to very gently dry brush this over the top of the Castlex Bronze details as well. And we're literally just looking here to pick out the edges, the rivets, stuff like that. Just like this. So with that done, we now have this like glorious heavy industrial metal for the more mechanical parts. But what we're going to do now is we're going to work on the trim. Now the colour we're going to be using to relayer that is going to be Skullcrusher Brass. And what we're going to do is, we're just as we have done so far, is we're just going to start painting this all over the trim. Just avoiding anywhere where the shade has settled, for example, around that rivet. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to highlight all of the Skullcrusher Brass with a roughly 2-to-1 mix of 2 parts Stormhost Silver to 1 part Skullcrusher Brass. And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to very carefully now start picking out all of those edges. So with that done, we now have these beautifully shiny metallics all over the legs. So what we're going to do now is going to take some thinned down Stormvermin Fur. And we're going to use this to highlight all of our black details. So with those black details now all highlighted, what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Flayed One Flesh. I'm going to use this to highlight the fleshy flag. So I'm just going to pick out all of our edges. And we're also going to run this along the folds. And so with that now done, we're going to take some thinned down Screaming Skull. We're going to use this to highlight the skeleton horde areas. So with that all done, the legs are, well, they're pretty much finished. They're looking fantastic. However, there is going to be some additional details. Now, we're going to do them on the legs now rather than doing it all at the end because, well, a lot of the stuff that we've done on the legs, we are going to then duplicate on the carapace, the body, and the arms as well. However, what we want to do is we want to kind of finish this mostly, put it to one side and then focus on the other thing. So one of the things that we have with House Korvax is we have some heraldic lines, sort of almost hazard striping, that happen on the, particularly on the legs, on the bone panels. And they're these diagonal lines that go across, and they are red in colour. Now the colour we're going to be using for this is Khorne Red. What we're going to do is we're going to thin it down a little bit more than normal, and we're going to start with the first line, which is this one here, which is going to come all the way down. And we're going to do this on both of our panels. So what we're going to do is we're going to start drawing a straight red line that's going to come all the way down like that. I'm going to wash the brush, I'm going to grab a little bit more Khorne Red, and then we're going to draw our next one. It's going to come down to there. And we're just going to carry it through down to there like that. Then we're just going to block it in. Just like that. Now we can neaten it up a bit in just a minute, because we obviously want this to come all the way down into the trim there, like that. And we've got a little bit of a mistake there. And what we will do is we will use a little bit of Screaming Skull, if we need to just straighten it out a little bit. However, we've got a bit of a kink on here, so I'm just going to come up here. Just like that. That's looking pretty good. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to draw in the rest of the lines. So we've basically got to do one in this little corner, one up in this little corner, and another one going diagonally across. So the one in this little corner, we're just going to start around about here. Just going to block it in. Corner ones are easy. Like that. I'm going to do the other corner one as well. Just going to start around about there. Like that. And then we're just going to do our final one, which is going to start there. And then we're just going to carry it through. Like this, we're just going to continue until they're all fully blocked in. So with that done on both leg panels, what we're then going to do is we're then going to, as mentioned, take some Screaming Skull. I'm basically going to use this to highlight the freehand that we've just done. So this not only kind of helps us straighten out the line, but it will also give us some texture to those highlights, or to those markings I should say. A little tiny dust hair on the end of my brush. There we go. So with that done on both of the leg panels, what we're going to do now, and this is purely just for show now at this point, but what you could do is you could use some transfers, but what I want to do is I want them to look like kind of carved bloody runes in the flesh banner, I should say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some blood for the blood god, and I'm just going to start drawing some runes in random places and adding some little text and stuff. So I'm just going to add this blood for the blood god. Like this. So with that done, as you can now see, that blood for the blood god glistening. What we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of kind of staining, a little bit of weathering, and a little kind of, well, we want to make this look like it really hurt to make. So what we're going to do is we're going to take contrast medium and Magos Purple. What we're going to do is we're going to take the contrast medium on our brush like so, and we're just going to take a little bit of that off, and then just around the bottom we're just going to add Magos Purple, contrast medium, like this, and we're going to add it over the top of our runes, like that. Then we're going to wash the brush, grab a little bit of Magos Purple, not that much, and then we're just going to start stippling it in around our runes and towards the bottom. Of the cape as well. And then what we can do, wash the brush, and then just using a clean brush, we can just mop up any of the excess that we don't want. Just like that. And then we can go back to Magos Purple. We can add a little bit more of this in towards the bottom. A little bit of it in around there. Create some slightly heavier bruising around that main one there in the middle. Wash the brush. Smooth it out a little bit. Just like that. with that done, our legs are now, well, they're sort of half finished, right? So all of the highlights, all of the base coats and some of that weathering and freehand stuff is on there. However, there is going to be a pile of weathering that we are going to do to these, because part of the House Korvax scheme is having kind of spatters of blood and grime all over them. And, well, we're not going to do that now, because what we are going to do is we are going to move on to the knight's body. So, rather than filming all of this again, because everything that we've done here will appear on here, what we're going to do is we're going to paint all of this stuff like this up on this, and then we'll come back for the proper stuff. So we're going to get to the stage before we did any of these freehand or the kind of weathering stuff on here. I'm going to do it on here as well. We're not going to paint in the birds and stuff, so we're going to demonstrate that for you in the video, as well as the large horns on the face and the glowing areas inside that kind of chest piece. We're going to do the Volkite and stuff as well. That will all be in this video. But just as a little aside, what we are going to do is, for the carapace, all of this is going to be black on the shoulders. The front part is going to be the bone colour, and the back part is going to be the black colour. So we're going to grab our paints, grab our brushes, we're going to get on with that, and I will see you in many hours, well, seconds for you at home, and then we'll get on with the rest of the details that you're looking forward to seeing. But trust me, once we get to this point, it's going to look awesome. So here we are then. Our Knight Abominant is, well, all of the black, the gold, the silver and the Castellax Bronze is now all done, all over the top, as you can see. So our knight is more or less at the same stage across both the body and the legs. Now, as I said before, we have stopped before we've got to the heraldry bits and the various little bits of freehand and the unique details such as the birds, and that is now what we're going to work on. So we're going to once again just detach him like so. And the first place we're going to work on is on all of our lenses and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to use some Castellax Bronze for this, and we're going to firstly just paint this over everywhere that we want to be our kind of shiny lens area. So this is going to include areas such as the hatch window on the top here, like so. We've got a little lens just here on the heavy stubber, like that. And then we've also got the lenses inside the face mask. Which, while tricky to get to if you've glued it on, they're actually much simpler painting this way than they are anything else. Oh my goodness me, I'm losing my voice. And I think that's it for the lenses. Yes. These bits under here, these little vents, I've actually done in the same style as the gold, but we're going to be including those in the next take in just a moment. So with that Castellax Bronze applied, we're going to take some Blood Angels Red. I'm going to apply this over the top of the Castellax Bronze. And we're also going to apply it over the top of these venting areas. Just like this. Now what we're also going to do on the Volkite is we're going to run this Blood Angels Red between the pylons. Now don't worry if you do accidentally overspill. We are going to be adding a highlight to these coils in just a moment. Just like this. So with that done, what we're now going to do is going to very quickly take some Runelord Brass, and we're going to use this to basically highlight those coils on the Volkite. So we're just going to pick out all of our coils. Just like this. So with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Evil Sunz Scarlet. I'm going to use this to add a cheeky little highlight to this window at the top and the lens on the heavy stubber. And we're just going to do this around the kind of bottom 10th. It's quite a wide highlight here with the Evil Sunz Scarlet. Like that. And so with that done, what we're then going to do is we're then going to take some Fire Dragon Bright, and we're going to use this to highlight the highlight. So we're just going to add this going around the bottom edge. Of our Evil Sunz Scarlet. Just like that, so it gives it a nice glow. Similarly on the heavy stubber. Like so. And on the eyes, if you're feeling really brave, you can come in here and just add a little dot. So with all of those lenses done, it's time to move on. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some Skeleton Horde. I'm going to use this to paint in all of these sort of protrusions and branches coming out of our Abominant carapace, just like this. And with that done, we're then going to take some Flesh Terrors Red, and we're going to paint this over the bottom layers of the feathers on each of our birds. So with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some black Templar and we're going to apply this over the rest of the feathers. So with that now done, we're going to take some Darkoath Flesh and we're going to apply this over the heads and necks and tails. But don't worry, the heads and the claws aren't going to be Darkoath Flesh as well. I have a gunning plan. So with that now done, we take some Gryph-Charger Grey. We're going to apply this over the top of the talons. Like that. Make sure we get both sides. And then we're also going to apply this over the top of the heads. As well. And we can also add it over the top of any of the taloned parts of the tail. And so with that done, we then take a tiny bit of Terradon Turquoise. And we're just going to apply that over the sharpest part of the bird's head. Just like that, just a little horn on the front. So with those birds all done, it's now time to do those red lines, just like we did on the feet of the knight. Instead, we're going to be doing them on the shoulders here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that thin down Khorne Red once again, and we're just going to start getting this onto our model. So first one is going to go in this side, and we're just going to draw our straight line going from around about there down to around about there, like that. And then we're just going to colour in the other side as well. And then we block them in. Like so. Continuing with the Khorne Red, we're then going to go to a roundabout sort of, well, we'll do the other side first. So this one kind of starts just there. And kind of comes over the top of that one there. That little spike. Like that. Then our next two go kind of an even spacing. So we have one that kind of comes down from the middle of this venting section just here. And then just in there. Like that. And then the other one kind of comes around about there like that. And across there like that, and then we're going to block it all in. And if we do make any mistakes, we can just use some Black Templar this time to mop it up. So with that done, you should have a knight that looks somewhat like this. It's looking pretty cool. So what we're going to do is the one thing that I've forgotten to do so far, which is to highlight the bone details on the knight itself. So we're going to take some thinned down Screaming Skull, and what we're going to do on the little kind of protruding areas on the carapace, we're just going to pick out the little angles and raised details on these little sections. Like so. Whereas on the main horns, we're just going to pick out the apex or the pinnacle just like that, just to give it a little bit of a sharp feel. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to paint the rune that goes here on the tilting shield. I really like the one on the box art, so what we're going to do is we're just going to deconstruct our knight. So we're just going to take the shoulder guard off, the weapon, the other pauldron, and the other weapon. Ah, so easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw in this rune that goes across here. The colour we're going to be using for this is Ulthuan Grey. What we're going to do is we're just going to take a little bit of this on our brush, and we're going to start by drawing a line that goes in the same kind of between these two rivets here either side, but we want to stop just kind of where it starts to curve. So I'm just going to start here. I'm just going to very carefully now draw our line across like that. We're going to wash the brush, we're going to come back and we're going to grab a little bit more. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to go over it, just kind of widen it out just a little bit more. Maybe try and make it a little bit straighter. Just like that. And wash the brush. Grab a little bit more Ulthuan Grey. Now what we're going to do is going to turn it into 2 arrows. So we're just going to draw some arrowheads at either end. Like that. like that. And then we're going to draw a line that goes down the middle. Like so. Then, underneath it, this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky. We're going to draw another line that goes across, but we kind of want it to be about as narrow as where those two arrow points end. So around about just there. We're going to draw this next line. That's going to come across. Like that. And then, just inside it, we're going to draw a semicircle. That comes around like so. And then off of that, we're going to draw 3 more lines. And this time, one of them is going to come off at an angle. Like that. Another one's going to come off at an angle. Like that. And then this one, in the middle, is going to come all the way down. And disappear behind the banner. Like that. I'm just going to make these two just a teensy bit longer. Because these are now going to be turned into arrows. Like so. And then what we want to do, we just want to curve out the eye at either end. So it looks like it kind of comes to a point. Like that. And then we just want to add a tiny little triangle in the middle. Like so. And then we're going to add some little tiny thorns. Either side of the straight arrow. Just like that. If you need to, you can go around with some black Templar to neaten up. And just use a little bit of Ulthuan Grey as well to strengthen any of them out, but I'm pretty happy with that. So with that done, I've also finished off the flag in the same style as we did down here. Didn't want to just film all that again. So our knight is now finished, pretty much. This is the clean look. Excuse me. It's very difficult to show this because I know that if I just let go, it'll fall off at that angle. Nope, didn't do it. All right, there we go. Well, our knight is now finished. However, one of the main features of House Korvax is a bunch of weathering. Now we're going to go through a bunch of techniques on how to do this. There's going to be tons and tons and tons that you could use on your knights, or you could use it on anything else. And, well, We're going to grab our paints, we're going to grab our brushes, and we're going to get started with this. So, be right back in just a second. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some metallic scrapes and scratches to the black details, and well, you can add this to any colour that you wish. Now the colour that we're going to use for this is Leadbelcher, and we're going to use a reasonably small brush here. And what we're going to do is around kind of any edges and things, we're just going to start adding little random blobs of Leadbelcher. Can also add some little dabs of this on the carapace itself. We just want to kind of mostly keep this towards the edges to give it that kind of impression of scuffed paintwork. Now, if you do any kind of slightly larger ones, you can just go back in with some black Templar over the top. Just to kind of fix it up a little bit. But again, just do it in the same style as this. So we're just adding tiny little scrapes and dinks here and there. So additionally with Leadbelcher, what you can do, you can take a dry brush and you can just stipple most of it off into some paper, and then you can just add even more kind of chipping effects around the black details. You can add this, for example, if you wanted to any colour, but I find it works most effectively on the black. So that done, our next technique is going to be to add some rusty effects. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some Typhus Corrosion, and we're going to add this to, well, again, places that we want to add a bit of rust. And again, this is a really effective thing to do on black. So for example, down here on this leg, I'm just going to add, by stippling it in again, a section of Typhus Corrosion, just like that. I'm going to add some just there and there as well. I'm going to add a bit of it around this foot. I'm going to add some around there. And a bit of it just there as well. Once that Typhus Corrosion is dry, what we then do is we then take some Skrag Brown and a dry brush, and we're going to build up little patches just in amongst that Typhus Corrosion by just dry brushing away with the Skrag Brown over the top. Just like this. So with those rust effects applied to our knight, what we're now going to do is we're going to add that blood spatter and grime and gore that's kind of all smushed all over this dirty, dirty knight. What we're going to do in order to do this is, well, I'm just going to take off a shoulder pad just to demonstrate this. So we're going to be using 4 different paints. We're going to be using Contrast Medium, Blood for the Blood God, Snakebite Leather, and Wyldwood. And what we want to do here is we want to basically first take some Contrast Medium on our brush, and then on areas that we want to make all grimy and bloodied and horrible, we're just going to paint the Contrast Medium on. So I'm going to paint some around here, I'm going to paint some around there, grab a little bit more, paint some like this, like that sort of thing. Then what we do is we wash the brush, and then we grab some Blood for the Blood God, and we're just going to pick a couple of places to add a couple of blood spatters, like that. Wash the brush, grab some Wyldwood, and then around that Blood for the Blood God, we're going to stipple it around. Like that. Grab some Snakebite Leather. We're going to add that in as well. Like this. Then we wash the brush, and then we grab some Contrast Medium. We can use that to move it around, soften it out, lift it off, and make it generally look a bit more caked on and part of the scene, as it were, and that sort of thing. And there you have it, one really grubby shoulder pad. And we can then just use a clean brush as well if you want to. If the effect's a little too strong in certain places, you can just use a clean brush to, again, just move it around, lift it off, like that. Gotta say, I'm pretty happy with that, like that. And then we're just going to do that in places all the way around the model until we're happy. So again, just going to grab a little bit of Contrast Medium, and I think just around here and along there, I'm going to add a couple of bits of blood. A few tiny bits of Snakebite Leather in there as well. Disgusting. There you have it. Look at that. Look at how awfully disgusting he looks now. Now that we've applied this all the way around our knight. Ooh. There goes a shoulder pad. Which is actually quite useful because we've just got one last technique for weathering that we're going to do. And that is to add some kind of deep cuts and scrapes. And this is mostly effective when you have, for example, some different coloured areas like this. So what we're going to do is, just to make these kind of heraldic lines look a little less clean, we're going to take some black Templar. And we're going to very carefully now add some little lines here and there. I'm going to add some little dots. Some little stipples here and there. Just to make that look like that's worn away just a little bit more. If you do any kind of really big ones, don't worry, because we can make those look super effective in just a moment. Like that. So we're just going to put that to one side in just a second. Just going to make this one here a little bit bigger. Just like that. I'm pretty happy with that. Similarly, on our leg ones, we'll just remove the knight for a moment. On our legs, we're going to similarly just take a little bit of black Templar. We're going to again add a couple of little nicks and scrapes here and there. So with that done, we then once again take a tiny amount of Leadbelcher. We're just going to add this inside our little black marks, the darkest ones and the biggest ones. Like so. It gives that kind of hint of some deep scratches. Similarly on this one. And then with that done, we want to take some Evil Sunz Scarlet, and we basically want to highlight our cuts on the red sections with it. Just like that, just to give them a sort of 3D aspect. And so, with his base complete, our Knight Abominant is now finished. Looking horrible. In the nicest sense of the word. We haven't really done too much weathering and too much sort of almost kind of grim darkiness on the channel, but I think, as you can tell right here, it really is effective on this model and absolutely brings the Chaos Knight to life, because it's a Chaos Knight. It shouldn't be all clean and knightly. It should be dirty, disgusting, and deadly. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/warhipster. Alternatively, you can now become a YouTube channel member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, exactly like these awesome folks have done. And if you just want to shoot me a little thanks just because you really love this video, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.